In episode 25 of the Oracle Scroll, we wrap up our look at the major arcana personalities with the 21st card in the deck, the World. Then we're going to talk about fear. Is that our best motivator or our biggest motivator? And then I'm going to answer a question from Glen regarding his career and choices he should make. Join us. Welcome to the Oracle Scroll. My name is Kevin Walder, and I am your host, and I invite you to join my guests and myself as we discuss all things metaphysical. So with this episode, we wrap up our look at the major arcana cards and the personalities that they bring to bear to help us in any endeavor we may encounter. The final card in the deck is the most positive one of all, the World, card number 21. So let's check and see what I said about it in my book, Tarot for Lunch, Lessons from the Cards. The World card is the most positive card in the whole deck. It reminds us that we already have all the answers we seek, and we have every resource we long to possess. Since the World is also the highest of the major arcana cards, its power is enhanced, and it carries a great deal of weight in a reading. Being the last card of the major arcana, the World represents achievement and accomplishment. All the preceding cards have carried life lessons to be mastered by the individual, but the World steps in as the completion of the process. The message from this card is that it is now time to look within for the answers we seek, because they have been there all along. How many times have we engaged the work of a respected teacher only to find that the lessons being offered were ones we had already learned through life experience? Well, the World is here to tell us to be more respectful of our own understanding and appreciative of our own inner wisdom. Sometimes those teachers we revere have a vested interest in maintaining us as their pupils. And once you begin to trust your own guidance and intuition, you may no longer need their brand of narrow-minded teaching. The World is telling us to shed the role of student, following the instructions of a gifted teacher, and to step out onto that stage and become the teacher ourselves. The World says that there is no stopping us now, and everything we need in order to accomplish our life's calling is already within us. This card carries so much power for the querent that it is impossible to avoid becoming excited about the new possibilities. The artwork for this card varies from deck to deck, but without variation, it depicts a positive and motivating scene. It indicates that the power to control life is within the grasp of the individual. It signals to us that there are many powers we possess, which may not be readily apparent. Sometimes we remain ignorant of a personal power we possess because we've been told it is beyond our reach, or that we haven't acquired the needed experience to use it. The World is telling us to listen to our hearts rather than those who might wish to deter us from achieving the best life for ourselves. Beware of any teacher who uses fear to limit their students or indicates the student cannot achieve without the teacher's continued guidance. When I see the World appear in a reading, I am led to think that the querent is being reminded of their power and their hidden resources. Whether they are involved in a life-changing event or just making minor adjustments, they will meet with success. Sometimes we get so caught up in the minutiae of daily routines that we fail to notice the ways we are capable of shaping our own world. And, as usual, there are questions at the end. And the world leaves us with these questions. How do you use the power of the world to shape your own life? Do you spend time in meditation, calling on the spirit of the world? And finally, how has the energy of the world been manifest in your own life in the past? And that is how I spoke of the world in my book, Tarot for Lunch, Lessons from the Cards, available now from Amazon.com in both paperback and Kindle versions. As we've been doing with all the major Arcana cards, we're getting personal with the world, allowing the card to speak for itself as to its position in the deck as well as in your life. So, let's get acquainted. As card number 21 in the major Arcana of the Tarot, I occupy a coveted position among my colleagues in the major Arcana. Greetings. I am the World, the ultimate positive card in the deck. I am most often depicted as female, possessing feminine energy, and am often nude or nearly nude, alluding to my nature of being transparent and nurturing in my messages from spirit. The imagery surrounding me often depicts an opening, which has been likened to a vagina, suggesting new birth and endless possibilities. I am the cause of great joy when I show up in a spread, because I am spreading the word that all things are possible and that everyone has the tools necessary to perfect their existence. As I am often heard to say, you have everything you need to accomplish your most cherished goals, and I'm here to confirm your ability to make over your world as you please. I could stop right there, and you'd have a great understanding of my energy and message, but there's a lot more that you need to know in order to truly know me. My message is one of peace and confidence, allowing the individual to accomplish even the most challenging undertakings. As I mentioned earlier, I am dedicated to assisting you in finding the hidden resources you may have taken for granted. And my energy is aimed at opening the way for you to succeed in any situation. As several of my colleagues have stated before, I am not here to perform miracles for you, and my energy is not in the business of taking over and doing your work for you. We are all here to assist and reveal what you may have overlooked up until now. My energy is to remind you of the power you possess and encourage you to put away the fear which causes you to remain stuck. Most of all, I'm here to remind you of your own divinity. Have you ever considered the fact that you are a divine being with untapped power sources within you? That's right. It's time for you to appreciate that you are the source of divine power in your life. There is no need to wait for outside guidance or intervention by a higher power, so you can stop waiting for help to arrive because you already have all the resources, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and yes, even physically, to accomplish the really challenging things in your life. Your success and happiness are wrapped up in being able to face a challenge with confidence and success, and those are traits already bestowed upon you. All the earlier cards in the major arcana have specific lessons to teach you, and you could think of me as the grand finale to the story and guidance of all those earlier cards. I am the conclusion to the epic journey through the challenges and triumphs of the major arcana. Like the fool, I am advising you to look inward and take responsibility for your existence as you explore your divinity. And like the magician and the high priestess, I urge you to remain connected to all life around you while staying in touch with universal energy as well. And like the empress and the emperor, my energy is giving, and I appear in your readings to remind you that everyone deserves our empathy. Through all the cards in the deck, I echo the admonition they deliver, even when it seems they are asking you to exhibit superhuman strength. I mirror all the cards, even the Wheel of Fortune, the Tower, the Devil, and Death. So while I get to be regarded as a very positive conclusion to a long journey, I still have to help you realize that change is just change, and that without it, life itself would cease to exist. Fear is banished from your world, and we will all be better off embracing the challenge of change and redirecting our energy toward progress. The one thing which we cannot accept is fear, and fear seems to be the most powerful motivator among humans. My energy is guiding you to stare down the fear which keeps you stuck, so that you can follow my example in creating the perfect life for yourself. Most importantly, I want you to learn how to look inward and understand that your own life experience has prepared you well for a prosperous future, and the tools you need are there for your use. I want you to believe in yourself and the divine power residing in you. Please, use my message as a reason to celebrate your past accomplishments. I am an especially good card for meditation because I'm all about helping you to recognize your strengths. I am your best wake-up call, calling you to see yourself as the universe sees you. Well, I hope our time together today has helped you to understand my energy and my message a little better. And I thank you for allowing me to speak to you today. And that is our message from card number 21, The World. In the second segment of the Oracle Scroll, we take something that is of current interest and put a spiritual spin on it. Try to understand it from a spiritual standpoint. And actually, it follows very closely with what we just talked about in talking about the World card, fear. So my subject today is fear your motivator? It's a serious question. Fear is one of the most powerful motivators known to man. And looking at our current political climate here and around the world, fear is enjoying a resurgence. How much of our life is built on fear? You might be surprised when you look at it. Early man was vulnerable to natural phenomena and mysteries of the universe, which gave birth to the earliest forms of worship and religion. When the obvious power sources, such as the sun, storms, and the ocean currents, became personified as deities, and the fear of displeasing the gods was born. This same innate fear passed down from generation to generation, and it carries on today and gives power to a higher power and their human representatives. Whether you subscribe to a mythical explanation of humanity like the story of Pandora's box, or you're more connected to Eden's talking snake, the fear of our own divinity will keep us stuck in an endless cycle of repeated mistakes and retribution, distracting us from the progress and success, acknowledging our divinity has promised us. When you look at our modern society, fear has been very profitable for some. Entire industries have been built on fear, such as, for example, the insurance business, which promises to absorb the risk of almost any calamity one might imagine could befall a human. Similarly, organized religion offers to absorb the risk of any calamity which might befall the spirit survivor of said human. Both systems use fear as their primary motivator, and they take in billions of dollars in the process. They're issuing policies or prayers and blessings. Our criminal justice system is built on fear as a deterrent. Our economic system is built on the fear of missing the next big windfall. Even our education system is built on the fear of failing to impress the right people with the right credentials. Our current political climate is entirely built on fear and distraction, and it is quite scary. People who are entirely motivated by fear, in turn, seek to engender fear in all of us, so that we're confused and divided, fearing anyone who worships differently, is a different color or shade, or anyone who exercises their right to experience and express love and happiness. Anyone who has listened to or studied the work of motivational speakers and self-improvement gurus understands that most often the fear of success is actually stronger and much more challenging than the fear of failure. So we ask again, is fear your strongest motivator? And is there a healthy form or amount of fear which we need in our lives to keep us safe? Fear should not be confused with caution and awareness. So I am absolutely not advocating that we cancel all our insurance policies and take our chances in an unpredictable world. Such action would be foolhardy and dangerous, and not to mention illegal in many states. Awareness and caution are what keep us from stepping into traffic on a busy street or from touching a hot stove or an exposed flame. Keeping oneself safe is showing a healthy respect for the perils we avoid in daily life. Admittedly, it is a fine line separating the two, but it is very important to understand the difference. Once again, I want to point out that this is an issue that I personally continue to deal with and learn about in my own life. So I'm sharing some things I found very helpful and not just simply pontificating. Several years ago, I was introduced to a little book by the name of Who Moved My Cheese? It's written by Spencer Johnson, MD, and Kenneth Blanchard, PhD. It's still available on Amazon, and if you're close to a half-price books, you can often find it there too. It is a simple little story of change and adapting to change in our work and our life in general. It takes no time to read, but I find that I need a booster now and then to remind myself of the most important information contained therein. The one passage which absolutely stood out above all others from the beginning was a simple question, and simple questions often have a very complicated answer. The question is, what would you do if you were not afraid? Whoa, that's a big one. I kept that question with me for years, and I still refer to it whenever I feel that I am slipping into fear and shutting out possibilities. What would it take for us to recognize and embrace our personal divinity? First, we must accept that claiming our personal divinity is not arrogance or conceit, but a realization that we possess the power and ability to change our world. What this means to each of us is that we can no longer escape responsibility for our own decisions, and it requires us to be completely honest, especially with ourselves. Expressing our personal divinity means that we have a fully developed sense of responsibility, and we make choices based on our own intuitive insight. Now, does embracing our personal divinity mean we never make mistakes or allow our shadow side to express itself? No, it simply means that we own our actions, and we have no need to play the victim or find someone else to blame. Imagine how many of our fellow humans could still be with us if baseless fear had not made someone feel justified in taking their life. Imagine if our youth were allowed to develop their individuality without facing brutal bullying. Imagine if no one was considered disposable and our current epidemic of suicide could end tomorrow. Imagine our world led by people who, without being perfect, put forth their best effort to contact and connect with and encourage all of us to aspire to display our divine nature in all we do. Making our own life choices and decisions can be hard work. Relying on our own sense of right and wrong without the influence of archaic dogma requires much more effort and dedication than we may be used to applying to any given situation. But the satisfaction and reward will be very much worth the extra effort. Nearly all the negative reactions we see in our world today originate in fear. What we call racism, bigotry, hatred, sexism, ageism, misogyny, and every other form of hatred and separation are actually expressions of fear. Can we make it a point to step out of the shadow of fear and step into the divinity of acceptance? We cannot wait for our political or religious leaders to set the example. Their failures are on prominent display worldwide. We cannot expect a charismatic prophet to suddenly appear and restore our humanity. That is the responsibility of each of us as individuals. We are connected to and part of everyone and everything that surrounds us on this planet, and well beyond. We can't grow and prosper if we live in constant fear of a great deal of our world. The only choice we have is to embrace our connection and thus our divinity. In the third and final segment of the Oracle Scroll, we take questions from the audience and draw cards from the tarot to offer some guidance and answers. And today's question comes from Glen. Glen writes, I started a new venture, which has been rather slow to begin, and I am now weighing the wisdom of investing more time and more energy or just moving on to something new. What do you see? Well, thank you for your question, Glen. I drew 3 cards for your question, and they are the 5 of Wands, the 8 of Wands, and the Wheel of Fortune. So, let's jump right into the 5 of Wands. The 5 of Wands is definitely a strong indicator of your current position. The energy of this card speaks of an internal struggle, conflict within. You have been greatly disappointed that your new venture didn't take off as predicted. And even now, several months in, you are still experiencing that same internal conflict. I always look at the 5s as being obstacles, more like a speed bump than a major disruption, so be aware that your early efforts have not been in vain. The Eight of Wands, the second card I drew, is a powerful launching card. I often refer to the eights as playing the role of a second ace in each suit. This card indicates that you may not yet have effectively launched your project. In order to see the results you want from all your efforts, you need to expand your audience considerably. If this has been a regional effort so far, then consider expanding your reach so as to build your brand and brand loyalty. And then the final card that I drew is the Wheel of Fortune. Now, this is a member of the major arcana, and so it delivers some very influential energy to the reading. It is a harbinger of change. Change on a predictable level, such as seasonal change. This change is gradual and allows us time to prepare and plan for the next phase. This card says that some of the ideas which didn't make it to the final product need to be re-examined, and you may find yourself shifting your focus slightly to accommodate the new. In summary, you need to move out of the internal conflict, constantly questioning your ability and sincerity in promoting your product. While a little introspection is always healthy, you have taken it just a little too far until you are doubting yourself. So since it appears that you may never have properly launched your product, it's time to refine and repackage your product to attract the most positive attention possible. Bring everything back to the table and begin again so that you're able to be completely committed to your product. Now, based on what I see here, you started with a concept you believed in, and it hasn't changed much since the beginning. And as I said, bring everything back to the table because you may need to rework your existing product, or, perhaps there's a need for more than one product. Once you begin reaching your target audience with one or more of your products, then you can begin building the brand loyalty needed to sustain it. Most of all, I'm getting a clear indication that this endeavor is far from dead, but it does have a lot of room to grow, and it does need to be a lot stronger. There is far too much fire here to walk away from it. Glen, I thank you for your question, and I hope this has been helpful. I look forward to hearing from you as to how things are progressing from here. And if you, as an audience member, would like to have a question answered in such a manner, please forward your question to theoraclescroll@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to address it. And this brings us to the close of episode 25, and we really want to thank you for joining us for this episode. The Oracle Scroll is now available on most of your favorite platforms, and we ask that you please subscribe today. Find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and Facebook. Become a patron of the Oracle Scroll while earning some attractive bonuses for yourself. You can visit our Patreon page, and that is Patreon, patreon.com/Kevin Walder, to learn how. And have included a link, direct link, in the episode notes that accompany this audio presentation. Please send any comments, suggestions, requests, anything at all to theoraclescroll@gmail.com. And be sure to share your experience. Any friends, relatives, or anyone else who just might enjoy what we're doing here at the Oracle Scroll, let them know. Spread the word. And as usual, links to all contact options are available in the episode notes accompanying this audio presentation. We look forward to seeing you for our next episode. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Oracle Scroll. Find us on Facebook at the Oracle Scroll. If you wish to send comments, suggestions, or requests, please address them to theoraclescroll@gmail.com.